Thank you. So that's quite an introduction, Nyla. Some of you may already know who I am. I'm Dr. Siema Iqbal. I'm actually a local GP in Manchester, and I'm going to try and follow that amazing speech by this lady to my left. But I'm going to try, okay. So I'm going to speak about Islamophobia, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here today to talk about it. We know the facts. We know that hate crime has risen. We know Islamophobia is an irrational fear towards Muslims and Islam, and we know it exists on a spectrum. So you get some parts of the press demonising British Muslims, and then that gives confidence to the far right to go out onto the streets carrying banners with racist language on them. Some go further, they start desecrating graves, they start attacking mosques, and some go on even to attack individuals with fatal consequences. But what does that actually mean to somebody like me? What I'm going to do today is try and explain the impact of Islamophobia on someone like me and the impact of the hatred that's rising in this country. As a daughter, I worry that I'll get a call from the police or from my mum to say that my dad has been attacked or killed on his way back from prayers at the mosque. I don't want him or anyone else to be the next Mohsen Ahmed or Mohammed Salim. Islamophobia isn't just about being verbally abused or physically attacked. It's not just about having your headscarf pulled off or being spat at. It's about the way people are starting to modify their daily behaviour. I'm a mum to two boys who are actually in this room, and I'm going to tell you two stories. I'm actually ashamed that on a holiday last year, as we were flying out on your typical, all-inclusive 7-day holiday, as the plane is taking off, my 9-year-old turns to me and says, "Mama, I'm scared." Okay, he doesn't like flying, he doesn't like the sensation of the plane taking off. And I turned around to him and I said, "Oh, it's okay, just say your prayer." Say your prayers. He goes to mosque on a Saturday and Sunday, except for he started saying his prayer in Arabic. And I'm ashamed to say that I turned to him and I said, no, don't say it out aloud, because I was so frightened that we'd get thrown off the plane. As a GP, I can have the most difficult conversations in my room at work. I can tell people they've got cancer, I can deal with bereavement. But at home, I'm not able to have the conversation about ISIS when my child comes home and asks me who ISIS are after he's overheard it in the school playground, because I'm too frightened that he'll go to school the next day and say, "We were discussing ISIS last night at home," and we'll get a prevent referral. That's the reality. I make sure my child doesn't read the newspapers, because I know for every time a Muslim is mentioned in a positive light, there are 21 references where they're referred to as extremists. I don't want my child reading that. As an aunt to 4 nieces, I worry about their future careers. Not only are Muslim women discriminated against in the job market, but they're 3 times more likely to be unemployed and looking for work than women generally. As a doctor in inner city Manchester, I wonder if my patients are telling me everything when they walk into the consultation room. I have patients who have families in Syria and Iraq and so on, but I don't think they tell me everything because they're afraid that by doing so it will result in a prevent referral. That's not what I want to do. I want my patients to feel that my room is a safe space for them. I am asked to implement the prevent duty, and I find it insulting. Not only is it Islamophobic, it discriminates against the Muslim community, and only recently it's been found to be scientifically, the research itself is scientifically flawed, yet we're applying it to a whole population. I deal with patients who are still dealing with the impact of hate crime 9 years after the event has taken place. I saw a lady a few weeks ago who came in and she suffers with depression. She can't leave the house, she's agoraphobic. So I said to her, what happened? When did this all happen? And she said 9 years ago, she was playing with her kids in a park in Manchester and she had racist abuse shouted at her. Since then, she's too afraid to go out. She's become agoraphobic because she was too afraid to talk to anyone about it. She's afraid when her children go out, it's led to problems in their marriage because her husband doesn't understand why the kids can't go out. That's the impact of one incident that I guarantee the perpetrator has totally forgotten, but it's having on that lady 9 years later. I listened to the Health Secretary, whose name I'm not going to say in case I say it wrong, referring to doctors who have qualified abroad, my colleagues who I'm proud to have worked with, as foreign doctors from poorer countries, whilst referring to those trained in the UK as bright British doctors. Even the NHS hasn't escaped the hateful, xenophobic dialogue that Brexit made acceptable. The cleansing of the NHS is frightening and destructive, but perhaps the destruction of the NHS is what the government want, because let's be honest, it's all about privatisation. I may belong to the second largest religious group in the UK with just under 5 million Muslims, but sadly, Islamophobia in 21st century Britain affects every aspect of my life. This is why I chose to join an organisation called MEND, Muslim Engagement and Development, which tackles Islamophobia. It's a grassroots organisation that looks to create active British Muslim citizens. Before we challenge Islamophobia though, we need to raise awareness. If you're black, you know what racism feels like. If you're Jewish, you probably know what anti-Semitism feels like. But 95% of the population are not Muslim, so they won't know what Islamophobia feels like. So we need to raise awareness before we challenge it. So it's time to stop talking. We've done the talking, and this isn't a talk shop. It's time to take action, and that's what today is about. November is Islamophobia Awareness Month. So if you feel that you can do an event or raise awareness of Islamophobia, then please go to the MEND table at the back and we'll give you some ideas as to what to do. We actually have a leaflet with all our MEND events throughout November on the back of one leaflet. They're open to everyone. They are free events. Attend these events. Go to Stand Up to Racism events, because if we don't raise awareness, we cannot tackle Islamophobia or racism. And lastly, you're looking at me because you want me to end, I know. As a Muslim, I face huge challenges in the UK, especially when it comes to the future of our children and our civil liberties. I want them to have a safe, secure future, but unity is the key. The one thing this room has given me, it's given me hope, because we need to work together. Islamophobia isn't just a problem for the Muslim community, it's a societal problem. And if we are united, we can defeat people who allow hatred to divide and conquer us. Because if you're not part of the solution, you are part of the problem. And I'm going to end in the words of Sting, and Yusuf's going to smile at this, because I no longer want to feel like a legal alien in my own home country.